This video includes material of an adult's nature. There'll be a heck of a lot of swearing, and we'll be drinking a heck of a lot of alcohol. That means if you're a child, go to bed, go! Viewer discretion is advised. Oh, this is a good drink. Oh yeah. Tropical and fruity in the best tiki tradition. This is the Boba Fettish. And let me tell you something. It is strong enough, if you drink all of this yourself, to knock you in a galaxy far, far away. You know what I mean? Speaking of galaxies far, far away, that sounds like a nice place to be right now, doesn't it? The world is kind of scary. Scarier than anything I could talk about today, that's for sure. So I think we all deserve a little bit of a break. So I think today we're going to talk a lot of alcohol, and we're going to talk a lot of Star Wars. But first, introductions. Welcome to Morbid Mixology. I am Catherine. I am the Mistress of Mixology. I drink and I know things. And on this channel, we like to talk about the spooky and the scary, and we make drinks as an homage. And today, you've reached us on a very special day. Yes, this is our Star Wars Spectacular, as you might have guessed by the decorations and the name of the drink. Now, I sense what you're thinking through the Force. You're just thinking, there isn't anything really inherently spooky or scary about Star Wars. So are you just using it as an excuse to show off all the toys that you bought with your budget? First of all, rude. Second, joke's on you. I don't have a budget. But the impetus behind this special is welcoming back Boba Fett. Yes, one of my absolute favorite characters. He's back in live action. Boba Fett. And yes, I know, he's a cool guy, but he's not particularly scary. But we're going to get there, because in speaking about Boba Fett, we are going to take a field trip to everyone's favorite backwoods outer rim planet, Tattooine. More specifically, a trip to the Great Pit of Carkoon to visit the Almighty Sarlacc. Yes, you wanted scary, I give you scary. So, we first meet the Sarlacc back in Return of the Jedi, where Jabba the Hutt takes out his party boat to the Great Pit of Carkoon because he wants to throw Luke Skywalker and his friends in there after being the world's worst house guests. I mean, think about it. Luke not only destroys his pet, but he also fucks with the decor in the front room. I mean, you just don't do that, right? So we first see the Sarlacc. It's like this big, fleshy, evil funnel into the earth with, like, teeth and tentacles. It's a real sight to behold. And then, George Lucas, he gets a little money. He wakes up once in the 90s and says, I know what let's do. Let's hentai this bitch up and add more tentacles and a beaky mouth. Now, I have a plush version of the Sarlacc for you to look at. And yes, I did use the money for the budget for this. Shut up. Look, we can see here, we have the tentacles. Fierce, awful, yucky. And we have a beaky mouth here, in which they all go. Looks very Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. And to complete it, we have a tiny Boba Fett. Isn't that cute? Anyway. Well, of course, Luke and whatnot, they blow up the boat. They are gone. But poor Boba Fett, yeah, he's done in. He's done in by an accident and probably a jetpack made of cheap parts. I mean, it just gets hit with a stick and it shoots him into the Sarlacc. It's probably Tandy parts. It was the 80s. He really should have used better parts. You get what you pay for, right? And the Sarlacc, of course, takes this snack with much decorum and it burps when it swallows him. Because I guess Beskar is very hard on the tum-tum, I would imagine. What else do we know about this Sarlacc? Well, did you know that they actually start life as spores? Yeah, space spores. From what I read, they actually attach themselves to rocks and other junk that are falling to planets so that they can then grow, populate the planet, and terrify the shit out of the poor populace, I'm guessing. Not only that, but they actually do grow up to be able to run around. Yeah, they run around. They can move, which is absolutely terrifying. Yuck. They don't just sit there with their mouths open like a frat boy waiting for a Dorito. They actually run around and hunt their prey. And they are extremely long-lived. Yeah, when they reach the fruitful age of 30,000 years, they actually decide it's time to settle down. So they look for a giant hole in the ground in which to populate. Hence, the Great Pit of Carcoon then becomes the Sun Lakes for this particular Sarlacc, where it will live out its golden years, eating people, presumably. What we can see from the outside, obviously, the terrifying funnel, tentacles, beaky mouth, but there's a lot under the sand, too, which may be the most terrifying part. It goes down a full 100 yards into the desert floor. Yeah. And it is a big, two-stomached trunk down there. This cross-section of it is terrifying. Fast forward to the Book of Boba Fett, where we actually see Boba Fett in the gullet of the Sarlacc. Now, he's not doing well. He is covered with that stomach acid, and it is doing terrible things to his clothes, to his fancy armor. It is not a good look. Thankfully, he is not quite dead. He is able to move around. And he actually sees that there's someone else in the Sarlacc with him. He actually finds a stormtrooper. Now, this is interesting for a few reasons. There were any number of side characters that were yeeted into the Sarlacc during, Jabba's party boat scene in Return of the Jedi. But he doesn't see any of them. Instead, he sees this stormtrooper. Nobody knows how he got there or how long he's been, but he is in bad shape. He's clearly dead. But thankfully, his respirator is still working. Boba actually is able to take his respirator and be able to breathe with it. Because again, the noxious gases in there, you don't want to be breathing that for too long. And nobody actually knows how long Boba Fett was actually in the Sarlacc, by the way. We actually just had a conversation on Twitter with the Boba Fett fan club. Hi, Boba Fett fan club. None of us could agree as to how long. I say it was only a day or two, but anyway. Boba Fett, he does manage to escape the Sarlacc. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He's Boba Fett. Nobody wants him to actually be in the Sarlacc. But he basically punches his way out and flamethrows his way out. I mean, I'm sorry if you want a rap battle or maybe some riddles, but it's Boba Fett versus the Sarlacc. It's going to be punching and it's going to be fire. So he makes his way out, and of course, he looks like hell. He clearly has some bad paint job on his poor uniform at this point. It's actually covered his skin, we see, with lots and lots of scars. He's not doing well. Although he's still devastatingly handsome. That the Sarlacc did not take away from him. He's also bald. We don't know if he was bald before he went in. I'd like to think he had embraced the cue ball lifestyle before he actually went in. But we don't know that. Anyway, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the end of this particular Sarlacc, because it's pretty cool. Boba Fett actually returns to the Sarlacc after some time, after he has got his ship back, and he has a new partner. So he goes there because he thinks his armor is still there. He doesn't realize yet that the little Jawas, the little shits who live on Tattooine, actually took away his armor and sold it. That's a whole other story. But this is actually an interesting demonstration of what the Sarlacc can do, because when the ship comes, the Sarlacc is hungry. It sees there is definitely a snack there, reaches out with the tentacles and grabs the ship and pulls it down in. Holy shit. Who knew it was that fucking strong? That is terrifying. Thankfully, Boba Fett has a secret weapon. Well, two secret weapons, really. First and foremost, he has a new partner, Fennec Shand. Master assassin and badass. She is both the brains and the brawn of this particular duo, and she has the wherewithal to release the seismic charge from Boba Fett's ship. Now, we've seen this seismic charge at work, right? We've seen it destroy asteroids and spaceships, so the Sarlacc, yeah, it's not going to fade well in that particular battle with the seismic charge. It probably looks like, you know, spaghetti squash when that thing is done with it. So, that is the end of the Sarlacc. Long live Fennec Shand, Sarlacc Destroyer. So that's the story of the Sarlacc and Boba Fett and his escape. That was a lot. I think we've all earned our drink. So let's go and honor Boba Fett even more by making the Boba Fettish. Join me at the bar, will you? And welcome to the bar. Yes, the bar where all of your drink dreams come true, and where you will learn to make your own Boba Fettish. To start, I have already put half an ounce of lime juice in here, and 1 ounce of this passion fruit puree. It is delicious, and I don't think you're allowed to have a tiki drink without fruit. Next, I'm going to do 1 ounce of this orange curacao. Lovely. Now this is going to be a bit of a surprise. I'm going to put rye in here. I love a good bullet rye. Very tasty, exceptional in old fashions. You must try it. We're going to do 1.5 ounces. Last but not least, Appleton Estate Jamaica rum. This is fantastic stuff. Perfect in a Mai Tai. You really must try it. 1.5 ounces of that. Alright. Tropical. Alright. Got my shaker full of ice. We're going to top that in. We're going to go to Shaky Town. Alrighty. We are good. Now, I'm going to pour this out in my Book of Boba Fett tiki mug. Of course, I have one. You don't even need to ask. Alright. Now, I always suggest a little umbrella and a little lime. Now, this cup is kind of big, so it's just going to sit on the rim here. But here you go. I'm going to move this before I actually drink out of it. That is delicious. And as I mentioned earlier, exceptionally potent. Beware that this is actually 2 drinks. So if you want to drink it all yourself, be my guest. But you can share it with a friend. Now, I actually have a surprise for you. 1 more drink to show you. Just give me a second. Alright, here we go with drink number 2. This one we are honoring the Sarlacc Slayer herself, Fennec Shand. We are making her the Fennec Shandy. Now typically, a shandy is beer and lemonade. We're going to give this a little bit of an uptick here. We're going to start with our beer. I'm going to fill this about halfway. Don't worry, the rest will not go to waste. I promise you. I'm using Colossal Claude. This is an excellent IPA from Rogue. You can use a wheat beer, excuse me. You can use a lager, whatever you like. I like Colossal Claude a lot. Now, we are going to drop in a shot of limoncello. Yes, very much like Fennec Shand dropped the seismic bomb on the Sarlacc. That's what we're going to do. But we're not going to drop this from on high and spill a bunch of beer. I want to remind you we're in a drought. Do not spill the beer. Here we go. Plump. All of that lemon goodness will go in there. It's really tasty. I think you're really going to like it. I think Fennec Shand would like it. It's simple. She'd love it. So thank you for joining us for our Star Wars spectacular here at the bar. I hope you will enjoy the Boba Fettish and the Fennec Shandy. Stay safe out there. Don't drink anything I wouldn't drink. And we'll see you here next time. Bye.